That Doctor Who finale, eh? My opinion of this series is pretty mixed, to say the least. I'd say this finale is pretty much a microcosm of the good aspects and the bad aspects of Season 8. The good parts, I would say, are mostly contained in Part 1. Darkwater is a really great episode. It's got good plotting, good pacing, good structure, and it's got a mystery that keeps you guessing up until the end. The actual finale, Death in Heaven, though, is not so great, honestly. But I suppose I should explain what's actually going on in this finale. Spoilers ahead, obviously. So it turns out the entire overarching plot of this series has been orchestrated by... the Master! The Master is back as a woman, hence Missy. Missy, mistress, female version of the Master. Pretty obvious. So obvious, in fact, that as soon as she said her name in episode 1, I immediately went on Twitter and about half of everyone I saw had already guessed this. The actress for the Master, Michelle Gomez, did actually do a pretty good job, especially in the first part of the finale, Darkwater. The problem is, in part 2, it kind of completely falls apart. It becomes immediately clear that she's not a well-written character because they resort to that ever so bountiful option of just calling the character crazy and using that to explain everything that she does. She blows up a plane? Why? Because she's crazy. She made an army of Cybermen just for the Doctor's birthday present? She's crazy! Okay, spoilers, that is what she's doing. This whole thing, she was collecting people who died throughout history, supposedly, but especially in current-day Earth. She was collecting their minds as they died, storing them in a cloud-like database, telling them to delete their own emotions so that they could not have to deal with the pain of being dead, and then she was downloading their minds back into their bodies, upgrading their bodies into Cybermen, and having them crawl out of their graves as a new cyber army. But then, instead of using that army to take over the world, as the Master is wont to do, she instead gives this to the Doctor as a birthday present. I don't know how she remembered the date because he travels in time, so his perspective of time is completely skewed, but whatever. She wants to give him this army because she says, in her own words, you want to go take on the Daleks and destroy those death camps? You can! You want to, help all those people around the universe who are honestly in pain? You can! You have an army. You have an army that will not die, and with each new person that they kill, they recruit that new dead person as a Cyberman. You have an unstoppable force. You could honestly right wrongs in the universe. Now go do it. That's an interesting perspective, and it ties into the main theme of this series. Is the Doctor a good man? And that's really an interesting theme. Honestly, I think that's a great idea for a series as an overarching theme, especially with this Doctor. Peter Capaldi is a really good Doctor, and he's one of the big merits of Season 8. And for all the Doctors to have this particular theme go through his series, it really works for Peter Capaldi. Basically, the main point of this finale is giving the Doctor as much power as possible to see what he does with it. When humanity sees that there's an army of Cybermen walking around all the cities that have graveyards near them, they instantly go to the Doctor and make him president of Earth. He is given complete control of all armies to make a full counter-offensive against enemy forces. Then, after a series of events that make the Cybermen look very, very much like Iron Man, having the chest pieces and the ability to fly now, they destroy the plane that the Doctor is on. Him and the Master get put down to the ground, and the Master reveals, or Mistress I suppose, reveals her plan, and the Doctor is put in control of this cyber army. All of that really should have happened in part 1, because really that's an interesting dilemma that should have been, like, the starting point for this whole thing. The problem is, all of this gets resolved basically in a few minutes. The Doctor, hears the Master's words that she wants him to be the guy to take control of this army. She tells him about all the good things he could do. He has a few flashbacks of things that he said in the past series, and then he just says, nah. That's all I'm not interested. He just goes, no, I don't want this control bracelet. Hey, Danny, you want this? I don't need it. I'm just a nice guy passing through who solves things. Throughout the series, the Doctor has been very much against soldiers. He didn't like that Clara's boyfriend Danny was a soldier. He didn't like the soldier from Into the Dalek. He was perfectly fine to take her on, except she was a soldier, so he wouldn't let her on. He has a big problem with soldiers. I'm not sure why this Doctor has a problem with soldiers. It seems to be very new. The other Doctors have not really stated this problem. And how the Doctor's own friend, the Brigadier Lethbridge Stewart, was a soldier, and he was a friend for a long time. But this has been a big theme throughout the series, and one of the main characters, Danny Pink, is a soldier. He shows up in this, and, spoilers, in the opening minutes of Darkwater, he dies. Not by any suspicious means, he just gets hit by a car while walking and talking on a phone. So, don't talk on your phones while you're walking across the street, kids. Good PSA there. But yeah, Danny's dead, and honestly, I don't feel like anything was lost from that. Danny throughout this entire series has been kind of a wet blanket. I don't know if this is the actor's fault or if he's just not that interesting of a character, but he's very much been this particular series' Mickey Smith. Just the deadweight boyfriend that's really holding down the companion from actually continuing with her adventures. And it's really apparent after the dream team that we had last time with Amy and Rory perhaps being some of the best companions of the entire series, in my opinion. Of course, this particular finale is taking place very shortly before November 11th, Remembrance Day. And that seems a bit crafty and a bit manipulative because there is a lot of pandering to soldiers in this episode, especially near the end where Danny is given control of the Cyber Legion and they go up into the clouds and explode. He causes them to die, to destroy the rain clouds of cyber nanoparticles that would have turned all living people into Cybermen. So essentially Danny saved the world. And that's a bit pandering. They never really dealt into the issues of why soldiers would be good or bad. The Doctor just said, soldiers are bad, I don't want to deal with them. And the Master said, oh, you could use soldiers, they're useful. And there's not really a real conclusion to that. I'm just personally glad that Danny Pink is gone. Sadly, though, at the end of this episode, it also seems that Clara herself is going to be leaving after this episode. Now, Clara has had her detractors throughout the entire series, and a lot of people really don't like her, but I think she worked really well with Capaldi. Jenna Coleman is a good actress. She's shown herself to be very effective throughout this entire series, especially in this finale. She did really great work, but now she seems to be leaving. Now, I believe I heard a rumour that she'd already signed a contract for another season, so perhaps we'll see her come back in the Christmas special or in the next season. But I hope that she does come back, especially now that we've lost the dead weight of Danny Pink. Perhaps they can actually move on with having fun adventures now. Speaking of things I'd potentially like to see in Season 9, I would really like it if they drop this whole Moffat mystery thing that's been going on for the last couple of seasons. This whole idea of a mystery villain or plot device that's been going on behind the scenes, and we see snippets of it throughout the series. And then at the end it just turns out, woo, surprise, this is what's been going on. I think that's gotten quite old, and the thing is, the internet has gotten quite perceptive about it. This Missy storyline got decoded pretty much immediately. Before that, River Song, she was decoded pretty quickly. Personally, I would really prefer if they returned to the serialized storytelling of the old series. This series has really tried to bring back a lot of the old aspects of old Doctor Who, and it would be great if they brought back that aspect of it that has been missing for the last couple of series. I would really like it if we just had a series-long story, perhaps with one central villain. That would be really interesting. Again, you'd have more time to develop. That was really a problem with this particular finale, especially in part 2, where it felt just so rushed that nothing really felt like it was getting developed enough for me to be interested in it. This finale had a lot of potential. After Darkwater, I was really hyped for this finale because I thought that it was going to tie everything together and change my opinion overall on the whole series, because there was a moment there, especially after Kill the Moon, where I was willing to completely give up on Doctor Who. I was sick of it. We'd had a run of bad episodes in the middle where it was just so uninteresting and bad, I was willing to abandon the whole enterprise. Thankfully, we had a few episodes building up to this finale that I'd say were really genuinely good, but then the final finale just kind of left me cold. It was really just marred by those overall problems of Moffat. Mediocre mysteries, bad pacing, inconsistent tone. Just this has been a kind of a problem since Moffat took over, and I really hope that they either find a better writer or that they just have more guest writers, because some of the guest writers this series were really genuinely great. For example, James Matheson wrote some of my favourite episodes this series. Mummy on the Orient Express and Flatline were both his, and some people have tipped him for being the next showrunner. I really hope that's the case because he is a really good writer. Hopefully next season will be a lot better, but yeah, I can't really give this one a stamp of approval. There are some great episodes you should definitely check out, but I wouldn't necessarily say this is a must-watch season. Overall, I'm hoping that season 9 actually focuses on Gallifrey, on bringing back some old villains. I was kind of hoping that this was going to be the Rani. But anyway, everyone, thanks for watching. I suppose I give this series a 3-star. It is acceptable, overall an okay series, but not something you should really rush out to see. Maybe wait till next series where they've got themselves back on their feet and understand what they're doing. Thanks for watching, everyone. See you next time.